Mayor, Council, my name is Carol Presson. I am a resident of the city of Collinsville, and I have a daughter who plays with the Extreme organization. I don't come here to talk to you as a business owner or as an organizational leader. I come here to talk to you as a parent and as a resident of this city. All three of my children have had the opportunity to play at the Collinsville Sports Complex. And over the last 15 years, I've watched that complex deteriorate to the point that it actually saddens me. Before I came here tonight, I asked my daughter, who currently plays, tell me about your home. Tell me about your home fields. And she asked me what I meant. And I said, I need you to compare it to the fields where we go. We've traveled all over the country. And she kind of smiled, and she said, you know what, Mom? She said, we've been caught in storms out there, and we've had nowhere to go. She said, I've had to go to the bathroom. I've had nowhere to go. She said, sometimes the grass is so tall in the fields that I can't even see the ball to field it. She said, there's holes in the field. She said, this isn't the place that I want to play, but this is my home. All I am asking of the council is to consider helping us to fix these fields so that all of these games that Mr. Swift had talked about can be played there. We have a great opportunity in this city to bring families from all over the area to this city. I love this city. And we have a lot of opportunity and a lot of things, a lot of businesses that will benefit from having all of these families come through the city of Collinsville. I'm just asking for your consideration to be able to keep my daughter home.
Thank you. Anyone else from the north?
Thank you for your time, Mayor, council members. I'm Jason Walagorski. I'm married with 2 children and lived at 505 Hillside Drive in Collinsville, Illinois for the past 10 years. My son attends St. Peter and Paul, plays for Gateway Soccer Club, YMCA basketball, and the Extreme Baseball program. My wife and I grew up in Caseyville, and we moved to Collinsville for its location and amenities. The ease of getting to my job in St. Louis at Washington University School of Medicine and the ease of attending my son and daughter's activities in town were real draws for us to move to Collinsville. With the state of the sports complex, my family is now forced to travel outside of our community. I have to commute from work in St. Louis and then leave town again to play home baseball games. What once were great amenities and perks to living in Collinsville, they become great stress points for my family. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Thank you for your time, Mayor and Council. Alexa Becker here. I am the director of softball for the Extreme Baseball and Softball Club. My fiance lives in Collinsville and I work here. We are getting married in June and potentially maybe calling Collinsville home in the near future. This weekend I was on site for the spring softball showdown, the tournament the Extreme hosts to support Girls on the Run. This tournament was the first softball tournament that we have hosted outside of the Collinsville Sports Complex. It was a bittersweet weekend. I was on site throughout the weekend supporting our tournament director and all of our softball teams competing in the event. Throughout the weekend, I experienced some weird feelings. First, I was asked by the Alton newspaper to speak on our organization and the economic impact of the tournament for the city of Alton. They covered the event and took pictures throughout the weekend. Secondly, I also saw all of the teams receive a gift bag from the city of Alton. Pamphlets, brochures, coupons, handouts, all encouraging more tourism in their community and promoting a long-term positive perception in the city of Alton. As a recent graduate looking to make a home in the Metro East, it was strange to see another community marketing itself towards me and all the participants in this tournament. A real lost opportunity for the city of Collinsville. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Looks like I get to be the closer again.
Okay.
Pete Hoffman, I'm a 50-year resident of Collinsville. Want to thank the mayor and the council again for listening to our frustrations. I want to start real quick and address Councilman Stamen about the comment he made at the last meeting where he made a example of there are wreckers and there are builders in this town. And I just want to assure you and the rest of the council that we are builders. We're not here to try to tear anybody or anything down. We want to do nothing but see these young families in our organization thrive. They're the future of our town, and we don't want them to leave. We want them to stay here and build. So that comment really touched me, and I just wanted to let you know that we are builders. As Alexa said, this weekend we moved our tournament, along with several other games the past week, to Gordon Moore Park in Alton, which, using the same words that Alexa did, it was very bittersweet for me. As we handed out the welcome bags that she talked about to the teams upon arrival, it was just weird, giving these teams stuff to keep them in Alton, and the restaurants in Alton, and the hotels in Alton, the places to see. And we're supposed to be working with our own Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau, not the Alton Chamber and Tourism Bureau. That's what we want to do, and that's what we've done in the past, to promote the things in Collinsville that we can see and do here, and to keep those dollars here. Unfortunately, though, we're unable to do that because we just can't seem to find the right formula that will allow us to turn our complex into the jewel it can still be. None of us are politicians. None of us are lawyers. And we just can't figure out how we can get the right people to the table to show them what we can do. Our league is slated to start next week, as well as 7 other tournaments in the next couple of months that we choose to have here. But under the current agreement and arrangement with CARD, that does not address our safety, procedural, scheduling, and return on investment concerns. Far from it. We are patiently waiting with an army of volunteers for input and direction from leaders from the city, as well as CARD. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to expedite a meeting with the right people to make the dream of saving the complex a reality and keeping those tourism dollars here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the north side of the room? From the south side of the room, please.
Good evening, Bob Despain, 108 Linwood. The current FOIA officer has been quite capable and cooperative, but I believe that changed when I criticized the interim city manager. My hope is to provide council members with facts about receiving improper responses to my recent FOI request. A request was made on 3/15 for Mitch Baer. I'm sorry he's absent this evening. For Mitch Baer, comments regarding the use of the training room that would include claiming compliance from a party from Access, and also provide info about signage directing the public to points of access. Inappropriately, I received 19 pages of directions used for boards, commissions, and special meetings. Generally, the request was for comments made and directions of points of access. Requester failed to receive the comments, and the 5-day law was violated. Next, I was told there were no records about my 3/15 request for comments made by Mitch Baer. Then, at the 3/28 regular meeting, I spoke about my 3/24 request. It pertained to comments made by Mitch Baer regarding Access, Illinois Access, about the training room, and also to provide directional signage. Looking back, it seems a pattern of the FOI officer favoring the manager has begun. My reason for my requesting records about Access, Illinois Access, was to overcome the doubt that any record existed. After searching some records, I found a April 2011 news article captioned, "Another bill for City Hall for $62,000 to be discussed about the American Disability Act. The city had approved payment to Calhoun Construction. Miller was quoted that the upstairs meeting rooms are being used because they are not accessible and that the cost should be passed on to the original contractor. Another record showed in 2014, July 14, Bob Lowenseal was involved with the elevator. The next regular meeting will give staff and the council an opportunity to address my apprehensions. It appears something is not right between the FOI officer and the interim manager. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else from the South?
Karen McReynolds. I'd like to ask the council to stop handing out TIF money to businesses as if it's candy to a child who always asks but is never told no, because then the child will never stop asking. I'd also ask for TIF to be analyzed, I'm talking about the downtown TIF, to determine if it is no longer effective. If it is not, please end it and return the taxpayers' money to the appropriate taxing districts and city accounts. Then maybe there would not be a need to keep raising our taxes. And now for a response to Mr. Stamen's monologue from the last council meeting. Mr. Stamen, if you're so uncomfortable with your records being FOIA'd, then perhaps you should not work for the taxpayers. Instead, seek employment in the private sector where you're only held accountable for your performance by company bosses. Have you forgotten who you actually worked for when you worked for municipalities? Your records are open to scrutiny by anyone who properly follows the FOIA laws. You stated that this sinks to an all-time low, that you worry your family will be next. Do you really think anyone is concerned about them if they are not employed or involved in the city businesses? Are they doing something that would reflect badly on you? It really sounds like you're on the pity pot. As far as your silence goes, if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. On July 13th, I warned the council, July 13th of 2015, I warned the council not to make a fatal error by terminating Mr. Williams' contract. You, Mr. Stamen, along with 2 others, made that fatal error. You also continue to vote on issues not supported by the majority of residents. So what do you expect? There are consequences to all behaviors, so accept it or move on. But I promise you that that fatal error on 7/13/15 is never going to be forgotten. Speaking of consequences of behavior, Mrs. Brombelik, your behavior has drastically affected the reputation of this town and shaken the faith of the residents that they had in their city government. You cannot be trusted to do the city's business. Now your behavior has drastically affected your family. When will you resign? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Please state your name.
Mary Drum, 116 Kingsbury Court. I also wanted to comment on the editorial from Mr. Stamen. And I don't know the exact intentions of the individual that inquired, the FOIA request on you, but each and every one of us has had some form of a background check or a credit check, whether it's through our employer or a creditor. So if we could just be optimistic here, and maybe was this person just trying to find out, if you're credible or if you're a liability, if you're part of the solution or part of the problem. So, I do not consider my creditors or my employers mean-spirited or low because they want to find out more about my character. So, and I also would like to ask you to do your homework before you spend money, more tough money. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think you quoted you didn't know we bought the whole thing, talking about a downtown bar. So if the homework was done, you would have known the answer to that question, that they come back to the table. And Mr. Mayor, you also mentioned about the charter internet, that the police and their squad cars would be able to get their information quicker. I think I have this right. That wouldn't happen within the squad car, that would happen within the police department. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't think so. I believe I heard the spokesman from the, was it Charter, that was up here saying that that would not happen in the squad car since they're Wi-Fi. And the other thing I'd like to see is, don't know what it would take to get this done. I'd like to see a 7-member council instead of a 5. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Phyllis Droskis, 105 Lexington Drive. I'm going to quote FDR again. More important than currency and gold is the confidence of the people. It is very obvious the confidence of the people has been shaken. Very much so. Builders and records. I think we have somebody sitting on this council that is a wrecker, not a builder, because we don't do things like that. I'd like to apologize to the extreme because I think it's a darn shame that we can't fix softball fields. But we can spend $2.5 million to move a house. It don't seem right. It almost seems like people coming into town, you must have dementia because we got brick signs around showing that this is Collinsville. Is that a good use of the taxpayers' money? And you wonder why we're angry? Why you think maybe we're wreckers rather than builders? We just want our money spent wisely. We lost confidence with the absence of Scott Williams. He was the only one here to watch the hen house, and he did a very admirable job, and you saw fit to get rid of him. This is when I stayed away from council meetings because I had the confidence of Scott Williams that he was taking care of the residents. I no longer have that confidence. As regard to the FOIA inquiries on yourself, if you do no wrong, there's nothing to worry about. And I can't believe that this council spent $14,000. I noticed O'Fallon gave up the FOIA request. By the way, I didn't do it. But we spent $14,000 before we give it up to the Belleville News Democrat. I mean, really, for the residents of Collinsville, the Belleville News Democrat is our only way of knowing what's going on because they pursue things that the average person would not. Last meeting night, we had an aha moment. We're going to question giving these two entities more money, the saloon on Main and I guess a new sign for Home Federal. You said to change or look at some of the criteria for TIF. Before we start another TIF area, let's lay down the groundwork for how we are going to disperse money and not a building maintenance program. Her funeral home can't take $16,000, $20,000 from the taxpayer to put on siding, soffit, fascia, and then sell their building for $475,000. I'm going to ask you again, have we gotten this money back, or do I need to FOIA it? I hate to do that. Somebody can say, hey, Phil, we got our money back. Why are people mad? We spent all this money on Main Street. We do the goat fences for the saloon Fridays. They want another fence up here to eat and dine and drink on Main Street. Do you think that's in the best interest of the taxpayers? When we can drive one block off of Main or Clay, either direction, and you got streets that two cars cannot pass. You can go south on Chart, Staten, and Lucille, and two cars can't even pass. You go down the other way, you go on Madison, Strong, West Wickliffe, West Washington. We haven't spent nothing. We haven't spent anything on the streets. We haven't spent anything on the softball fields either. We need to do something. This money has to be channeled in other directions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else?
My name's Rob Dorman, and boy, there's some good comments tonight. I went to the CARD meeting Tuesday night, and they're $1.5 million in debt because they voted to go into debt because they don't have enough money to even run and operate. And that's what happens whenever you have a TIF. You take money away from the other taxing bodies. So you guys got to realize that. That if this TIF that they're proposing tonight goes through, it's going to take money from CARD, not just CARD, but also the library district and the school district. A lot of people here talked about Jeff's comments. I'm going to address that. Mitch isn't here. I wrote you all council members about what I feel is his inefficiency. He is an interim city manager. I don't know when we're ever going to get a city manager. Hopefully we will. We're going up on a year in July. And I'll have been to every meeting since then, and I think I'll be the only person that's been to every city council meeting since then. Maybe Nancy, you've been here to every one too, but you haven't missed one. Those of you that are here that come, you should get paid, but if you don't come, then you shouldn't get paid, in my opinion. I don't get paid if I don't go to work unless I take vacations, and if I only work 24 times a year, I don't think they'd give me any vacation. Jeff, you mentioned that you had children in the paper, and I'm going to paint a scenario for you. You're a younger guy, and you're out in your front yard, and you're washing the car, and I don't know if you have 1 or 2 kids or 3, but they're out in the yard, little toddlers, and a loose dog bounds loose. And he comes up to him. Where are you going to be? You're going to be in between that dog and your kids, aren't you? Because you're going to protect them, right? And if it's a neighbor's dog, a neighbor's kids, and you're out there, you see the same situation, you're going to do the same thing because you're going to protect those kids even though they're not your own because you don't want any harm to come to them. That's what this TIF is going to do. There's no difference between you being between this TIF and these people over here because this TIF is going to do harm to the residents of Collinsville. It's going to raise their taxes because the money that you spend, the $60 million that's proposed, is going to have to come from someplace else for the school district and the fire district and everything else. So I really hope that based on your experience with the TIFs in O'Fallon, I think there's 6 of them there, they all have wonderful turnarounds. You can use those as an example and say, we don't have any reason to build this one yet. There's no reason why. And if you look at it, it's really laughable, what they're calling blight. A crack in JJ's Corner Bar, is that going to get repaired because we spend $60 million on a TIF? Or a loading dock has a rust on the back door? It's pathetic. And what's really something is you can't even find this online unless somebody emails you a link. You go there and you root around, you can't even find the study. It's unbelievable. I hope you guys talk about the telephone so there's more transparency. I know that Mitch wrote an email to everybody or a letter to everybody telling them that they're in a fishbowl, and the mayor did too. You're being scrutinized. You better believe you are because you're wasting our taxpayers' money, and we're unhappy with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Please state your name.
Don Kuntz, 310 Central. In the past couple of years, the start of the D.D. Collins House project, I have been asked many times my opinion of the project. But first, a bit of history. When I was a city councilman, I voted and supported the new police station and also the fire station. Why? Because both of these projects benefited the whole community, not just a bunch of people or businesses. For the people who don't know, that E.D. Collins House was located at the corner of Main and Center Streets in the downtown area. That is where a group of people met and started the city of Collinsville. It was later moved to the present location to make way for the Will Rogers Theater, which was and became a short-lived theater competing with the Miners Theater. I believe this is why it is very important to recognize and promote the D.D. Collins House as Collinsville's first city hall. The D.D. Collins House will be a tool to not only educate the adults, but also all of the children who go through our Unit 10 school system, AKA history classes. It will also bring in tourists who are here to learn about Coquia Mounds, the Ketchup Bottle, and also the long-forgotten George Washington tree located on East Church Street. All of these projects should be put into a package, especially with all of the people who visit the Gateway Center. The city has been paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries to people hired to promote our city, when in fact I personally believe these people don't have a clue of promoting anything other than themselves. What have they brought to the city? Joe Ashman invented the Italian Fest. Yours truly, Don Kuntz, invented the chili cookout. I ask, what has been invented in the downtown area? Time out. Other than new bars opening up, it's only been movies on Main. Wow. Joe and I have a 70 years retail experience, real in-store experience and success, not the college degrees and fancy diplomas with the fancy title, and then let's go into the work field and ply our trade when learned in college, only to be new kids on the block at $60,000 a year plus benefits. I also want to talk to you, John Miller, about the dirt issue. I'm talking about